Hey guys, welcome back. If you're watching this, this is the finale for now of Project P90, and I hope that you have enjoyed the first parts. I did to a degree, other than the mistakes. We'll go over everything we did, but just to put a timestamp on things, today is a Friday when I'm recording that, which is why I'm wearing red, which would be for, excuse me while I nearly trip. Remember, everyone deployed. I'm hoping that you guys can see that because I can't look back at the camera. But it is also still winter, so we also wear black because it's cold in my work area. So pardon that. Um, what we're going to do today and why I'm saying finale for now is I can't do a complete setup on this guitar with the way it's sitting. And to discuss why, I'm going to go to the overhead shot and maybe the side shot. We're trying a couple different things with cameras here today. Um, so for overhead, we're looking, what we did, we replaced the bridge as well as all the cosmetics and put the new pickup in, the P90 or P94, humbucker size P90 to be more accurate. And when we did so, this bridge sits quite a bit higher than the original one did. And when you're talking about setting the action on guitars, this type of bridge does not have individual height adjustments for the saddles. It only goes up and down with these screws on the side so that you can raise or lower it. So it's decked. It's as low as it's going to get. And we'll go over that later when I get into the action part of train, which is tuning relief, action, intonation, and nut, which will lead to why we're not going to be doing the nut part either. So the nut that we put in over here, as discussed in previous episodes, is hollow on the inside. I cannot cut this nut, try and make adjustments. I don't know that I'd want to do anything to the nut until I can worry about the action as well. And the only way we're going to alleviate the action is probably to put a shim under the neck, uh, under the neck plate, since this is a bolt-on neck, which should allow me to get closer to action. So that being said, I'm probably not going to be able to do the intonation too because it probably wouldn't be worth it. Because when I do get that shim in, I would have to redo all of this. What we're going to check the intonation though. So we're going to see where everything is, and this is going to be our baseline from when we do eventually return to this. Because what I do want to get to is starting that back there, which is the bass kit. So for now, we're going to get this set up as much as we can, and then we'll do some sound demos so you guys can hear the pickup. I've been playing with it to play the strings in to try and get them as stretched as possible so that it would stay in tune. And I'm pretty happy with it. It's a very different pickup than anything I've ever played. I've not played a P90 pickup before, so we'll discuss more of that when we get to it. All right, the one thing I did forget to do when we installed everything, got the volume and tone all the way up, I did not measure the output of the pickup. So we're going to let that settle for a second there. Wow, that is all over the place. What's going on here? Oh, helps if you have the cord all the way in. That's still jumping all over the place. What is going on? Maybe somebody can tell me what's going on with that. But I had it reading, yeah, about 7.8. Okay, it's settling down. I don't know if me moving around the guitar was making this jump a little bit. Folks that do this on the regular, you can tell me. But we're going to call it about 7.7, 7.8, even though it is kind of still moving. So, but that's right in the neighborhood of where I believe the pickup should be. So we're going to go ahead and unplug that cord so I don't drag my multimeter all over. Turn that off. It could just mean that I have a very, very cheap multimeter too, which is definitely the case. It's a Temu special. All right, so the next order of business was tuning. I took the liberty of doing most of that offhand, but we're just going to recheck the tuning real quick. D went a little bit sharp on us there. And finally E. So it stayed relatively in tune still. So that's the tuning. I do want to check the relief. And to do that, I'm going to put it up into the playing position so that I can look down from the top when we use the bar, which I will try not to relic this guitar anymore. This is sat for a few days, so I want to see where we're at. And it's actually still pretty flat. So that's good on one sense, bad in the other. I was kind of hoping there was some relief, which would account for how high the action is at the 12th. So I've got my Fret Guru XT multi-gauge here. This doesn't have millimeters reading on it, so I may have to get myself, I'm used to looking at millimeters or hearing about action talked about in millimeters, but I did look up about where you would want to be at the 12th with, I don't know if the overhead camera is going to give you guys a better view of that. Let's double check. A little bit. Let's slide that down. Not that you guys are going to be able to read any of the numbers at the 12th. But we're going to have it in the playing position. And I'm probably going to get my head in the way. So using the flat side here, we have a string action gauge running in 64ths. So on the low side, at the 12th fret, we are sitting right about 6/64ths, which that's a little over 2.25 millimeters, I believe. So pretty high. On the high side, we're sitting around the same. So I don't know if you can tell just by looking. Yeah, that's kind of hard to get a good angle on, isn't it? But that action is pretty high at the top of the neck. So a neck shim is going to be in order. There's not much I can do with that. I can check the intonation, but setting it right now until I can remediate that probably isn't going to be the best idea in the world. But tell you what, let's see where the intonation's at. So I don't know if you can see the tuner from that far away, but I'm trying to give some different views here and also try and keep my head from getting in the way. So to check the intonation, we run the string, make sure it's in tune. All right. We're a little sharp. You guys can sort of see that, I think. Point it towards the camera a little more. We got the E. I know I should be doing this in the playing position, but I want you guys to see it and as I'm just checking it and not really setting anything. So the E, low E, seems to be pretty well intonated. A is actually fairly sharp. D has gone a little flat on me again, probably because of how cold it is in my area. Back in tune. D is very sharp. I'm making sure not to press too hard because it's in this position. I'm trying to play as if I were actually fretting the note. D isn't too bad. G is remarkably still in tune. That one's ringing a little sharp. So the bad news is that these aren't all a little sharp or all a little flat. B is tuned, and at the 12th, running a little sharp. And again, this would probably be a little bit different if I were doing it in playing position, and I'll check it again offline, but I just wanted you guys to see what I'm doing a little bit sharp. So if all of these on this type of bridge, if all of them had been a little flat or a little sharp, I could adjust the overall action of the bridge by adjusting these two screws on the back. But I'm pretty confident that it's in a pretty decent place. We'll find out when and if we come back to this to do the shim on the neck. If I were to try and adjust, let's see which one was really sharp. Sorry, not a lot of talking. I should try and remember to keep talking to you guys because this can't be the most exciting when you can't even hear what's happening because I've got a noise filter on the mic. So the G is a little sharp. If you want to make it less sharp, you want to move the saddle closer to the nut. I'm probably getting that wrong. You can scream in the comments. I can look. You know what? Hold that thought. I'm going to cut this out right here. I'm going to go look that up real quick. All right, guys, I stand corrected, and you're probably, you can be done screaming at it. I'm going to leave that in because this is something, again, if you aren't sure about something, look it up. Google's a thing. the guitar community is a thing. So anyways, the G note, I'm going to do that sitting. Yeah, so even sitting, it affects the tuning. So G's in tune. So it's actually not bad. Here, let me move this closer to the camera so you guys can see. Let's try this all sitting. And when tuning, you always want to go low and then come back up so it maintains the tension on the string. And again, you probably also want a bench tuner, a plug-in tuner, because headstock tuners are great for quick tuning, but not for setting intonation. That's another reason I don't want to set the intonation right now. All right, the D. Come on back up to pitch, buddy. Oh, I'll be darned. When we're sitting in playing position, this actually makes a huge difference for intonation, which is something I'm learning now, and I'm glad I'm showing you, because anybody else watching me the first time would have gone, just do it on the bench. Don't. Okay, well, that's actually kind of ridiculous. Even with this action this high, playing normally, the intonation is actually pretty spot on. So let's set this back down over here where you guys can see. So tuning relief, we checked. Action, not much we can do about it. Intonation actually seems to be spot on. So with any luck, after I adjust that neck and get the action lower, the intonation should be pretty close if I'm lucky. The only monkey wrench is the nut. And that nut is still something I'm thinking on. I don't know if I want to replace this crummy plastic hollow nut with one of the brass adjustable ones that I've seen Casey at String Pickers and John use. Or if I just want to go with a black Graphtec nut to keep the black outlook going. Although the black Graphtec nut I have to cut. I think this might be a perfect candidate to experiment with the brass nut. Let me know what you guys think in the comment. Ultimately, it's up to me, but I'm just curious what you guys think. What way would you go? All right. So the project itself is effectively done, except for when I have to go back to that. So knowing that I've got to get myself a gauge with millimeters on it because I'm used to looking for 1.5 millimeters action. I do have a pickup height millimeter gauge. I suppose I could check with it sitting in my lap. So yeah, if we're talking millimeters, at the bottom of the low E, sitting between 2.5 and 3 millimeters. That's fairly high. That's if you're really strumming hard, I guess you'd like that. But and the low string, or the low string, the high E, but low away from me, looks to be sitting right around 2 millimeters, which again is going to be on the high side. However, I've been playing with it, and it doesn't feel that bad. So even up the neck, I guess because I've been used to playing acoustic when I first started, and I think I've also been used to playing guitars that weren't set up, that I've been kind of used to higher action and just having to hammer a little harder, which made things a little difficult for me down in the cowboy chord area, because if you press hard down there, you're going to wind things out of tune if the nut's not cut right and the action's a little high. So, with that being said, I'm going to table this for right now. We're going to stop this recording, and I'm going to go over there and do some sound samples for you guys. That will probably be tomorrow morning, Saturday. We have my daughter's birthday to take care of, But tomorrow sometime I'll take care of the sound samples and we'll get this up so you guys will be seeing this, which should be Sunday, February 1st, one day before Groundhog's Day. Oh, please God, let winter come to an end. All right, I will talk to you guys in just a second for you, and probably the better part of a day for me when we get the sound samples going. All right, guys, so as promised, this is just a couple of seconds for you, and it's been a day for me. Obviously, by a costume change, I don't tend to do that on same day videos. And we're going to do some sound demos, but I did want to get a couple of things out of the way. First of all, when I was filming the setup on the guitar, this arrived. I didn't order this. I haven't been able to figure out who did. It came from an address with a Poland return address and a name that I couldn't even begin to pronounce or see, and I don't have it on me right now. So whoever did send this, thank you very much. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan, so this is a nice surprise. I don't know where anybody would have gotten my address other than a few folks that I know, and nobody's messing up. So that's a fun mystery to end the series for now on this. Secondly, I also wanted to give a shout out to John over at Smoke Eater Guitars, because as I was working on this, he had also put out a video about grounding issues. When I first got this all set up and I was playing the strings in, I thought perhaps I had some kind of grounding issues going on. I've managed to mitigate most of that with noise gate now, but it wasn't a grounding issue because I was noticing that it wasn't just the high gain things that were doing it. It was when I was moving with it. Well, John's video mentioned looking at external factors, like he had a story about one guy that discovered they had a bad power unit on a pole outside their house, and once they got closer to the windows, that was causing some extra interference and hum. This thing right here, it's a little cold on my porch, so to keep my guitars and me happy, I had to get something set up, but I did have to have this off the floor because my rabbit is dumb and would probably lean up against it and burn himself. It is, however, a big set of metal vanes, and I discovered that when I walked away with my wireless unit, no buzz. So this was causing a little bit of hum, which I've mitigated for now with noise gate, so you guys shouldn't hear too much. And I did it for the gain settings too, because nobody needs to have that in headphones, especially if they're listening. All right. And thirdly, I did a little research on the neck shims, talked to folks online, and I think, yeah, just a neck shim should give me enough change to the action that I'll be able to dial this in and then set intonation if I need to. So that'll be an upcoming video. I can't think of anything too much else that I need to do with this other than filling in the hole in the headstock that I created, but I'll take care of that. We're going to take the screw out, fill some stuff in so I don't glue the screw in, and then get a furniture marker pen and just cover that up. Or not. I mean, just because I've already got so many other scars on here. We'll see what I do to it cosmetically. I'm not a big guy for doing anything funny with cosmetics, unless it's a brand new guitar that I managed to scratch or something, then I'd like to try and mitigate that. But for something like this, I kind of like the character. All right, let me get my headphones on and we'll get in just a couple of sound samples here. You'll notice I'm doing a little bit of different setup here, and that's because I discovered that with the P90 and the extra hum and stuff, going through the Pocket Master, while this is a great little tool for some of the stuff that I do, with just one single coil, constantly having to press buttons to get into the settings to change noise gate and everything else, or overwriting all the settings that I have that work for all my other guitars, didn't seem like a good thing to do. Whereas working off of my phone, I can make adjustments really easily. So at some point, maybe I'll get a Spark Go just so I can replicate the same things I do on my Spark over there. All right. I'm going to try and get where you guys can see what I'm doing, but the important thing is the sound. I did discover, this is new to me, and anybody who's had experience with P90s can tell me, duh. This is so much more responsive to changes in volume and tone. Like most of us intermediate guitar players, I would usually check that the volume and tone buttons worked and then set them to 10 and forget it. But this is opening up a lot of new things for me to play with. So, all right. Should be on clean tones. Yep. so I'm just... Okay, so that's with tone on 10. I'm going to dial it back to about 5, and you can hear that it does affect the mid-range and the upper things that were a little harsh. So it did affect that. It also the volume comes into play more when you're using drive or gain. So, but you can hear with the tone all the way up, especially if you're in some of the higher chords. Little quacky, similar, but we'll dial it back down to 5 again. Just changes the balance a little bit. I mean, it's doing what a tone knob should do, but it's just, to me, sounds much more noticeable on this pickup than it did before. All right, back up to 10. I'm going to switch to a really high gain setting. Not really what I would use this guitar. Whoops. Okay. Yep, that's the heater. So we'll try and stay away from that. I mean, that still sounds fine, but pretty much any pickup, even single coils and a Strat or whatever, if you add that much gain to it, are all going to sound pretty similar. I will roll the tone back and just do that again. Just it changes it a little bit, but not so much with the high gain. So pretty standard there. What I found, I was managing to dial something in that with a smaller amount of gain, this is where this starts to really shine. So we're going to tone back up to 10, and I'll play with the volume when we're doing this too. And the fun part about it, with just this little extra overdrive, change your attack. You get that nice little snarl, and that's the sound I was after. So this is going to open up a whole bunch of new ideas for different things, whether it's just backing tracks or writing a song or something. So I'm pretty happy with that. But also, we'll roll the volume back to about 5 here. It's going to be a little deeper, but a little softer rather. So you could hear when I rolled the volume up how it changed a little bit during the riff. I got to say, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm also going to roll the tone back. Oops. Probably should have done that first with it on 10, but you heard it with it rolled back a little bit. Now with it up. So I am really, really happy with this. This has been a lot of fun to play with over the week, playing in the strings. But we'll return to this. I've got it, like I said, got to make a couple purchases, got to get the shims, which don't cost too much. I'm going to do my best to save the strings because they're brand new, but we'll see when I loosen this neck if I'm able to get the bridge off and just kind of capo things down so I can get that shim in there and then put it all back together without losing the strings. But I'm going to get another. So that's going to be it for Project P90 for now. I'm going to turn this down so I don't cause any hum when I get it near to my heater again. Just a couple final thoughts. Man, for $60 and change, plus whatever the tuners cost, the tuners I think were like $10 because I got a Timo deal. I might someday upgrade those to 18.1 tuners. There's a little tuning stability issues going on, which I am not sure if it's related to the action, the current temperature, the crummy nut that's on there. That's another thing that's going to have to be purchased. And I think I'm leaning towards, like I said earlier in the comments, you guys can let me know what you'd lean towards, but I think I'm leaning towards that brass adjustable nut just because uh, seems like it'll be an easier way to keep track of it on this one. And it'll be a fun experiment, something for me to learn. So, all right, guys. Again, thank you to everybody in the community that's helped me through this entire project. Thank you to everybody that's been watching. And thank you to John over at Smoke Eaters. And thank you to whoever gifted me this wonderful shirt. So until next time, I hope everybody is having a fantastic end of January here and on to Groundhog's Day. So in a couple days, we're either going to love or hate a rodent. And wherever you are, I hope everybody's safe. I hope everybody's staying warm or staying cool if you're in warmer environments. And I just hope everybody is having fun. We'll catch you next time, guys.